Welcome in everyone, this is Sean with MTG808 Jr. and today I'm just going to be catching you up on a little bit of what I've been up to for the past month. I have not been creating too much content lately. I've been kind of focusing on some other things, but those other things are inevitably Magic related, so just going to catch everyone up with a little bit of my life. And that's going to be the purpose of this video. But before we jump into that, just want to make sure that everyone knows about our next youth Magic tournament. We are going to be doing an Aether Revolt Kaladesh draft on July 1st, which is just a couple days from the publication of this video, over at Westsidecomics. So youth eligibility, entering grades K through 12. Sorry if you just graduated a few months ago, you are no longer youth eligible. But it's going to be at Westsidecomics. It's going to be a draft. It's going to be great. If you've never done a draft before, don't worry. Most of the youth that I'm expecting to come to this tournament have not done very many drafts, if any at all. So this is a great opportunity to learn. We're going to be taking things very slowly. You're going to be receiving lots of help. So don't you worry about that. If you do want to brush up on your drafting know-how, if you want to know what a draft is, I'm not going to go into it in this video, but I am going to leave a link to this video in the description. This video kind of gives a good solid background of just what a draft is, kind of what to expect, and then you'll have a little better idea of what you're doing if you do show up on Sunday. So looking forward to seeing everybody there. So I recently got back from almost 3 weeks of traveling. The first week I was kind of spending time with my girlfriend or fiance. Her family is from Portland, so spent some time there. Jumped down to San Diego to spend some time with my cousins, one of who was graduating high school, so that was awesome getting to see the family. And then immediately after that, I went into full Magic mode and was traveling for Magic for just over 2 weeks. So first stop was Grand Prix Vegas. Grand Prix Vegas it's become kind of like a pilgrimage for Magic players. So a Grand Prix is a tournament where anybody can play. You do not have to be qualified for the Grand Prix. You just have to be in that city. And, they give away $10,000 to first place. I think at least $1,000 to top 8, and then maybe I don't remember what the lowest payout is, but I think like top 64 gets cash prizes. They pay out pro points, so for people that are trying to qualify for the Pro Tour that way, they travel to all these Grand Prix. So the Grand Prix are kind of just like this pilgrimage for Magic players. And living in Hawaii, I don't make my way out to very many Grand Prix. From just expected value perspective, it's really low, right? The travel cost up front is really high. Luckily, I got to stay with friends this time, so I didn't have to pay for a hotel, but I did have to pay for a ticket. And you're not guaranteed to get anything. So yeah, I don't go to very many Grand Prix, but I do have a very good friend who I grew up playing Magic with here on Oahu, who lives in Vegas. So he put me up. I've been to Vegas many times to prep for Magic tournaments, to play in Magic tournaments. So I I've made friends with the locals. Right, these almost all these guys are from Vegas or good friends with the guys in Vegas. Yeah, it's going to these things is worth it if you kind of view it as, you get to go see your friends, you get to go have a great weekend, you don't expect to win anything. So, if you're still playing Magic, for any youth out there watching this, if you're still playing Magic by the time you're making your own money, that you're able to kind of travel, going to a Grand Prix, just for the experience of it, not even necessarily to try to win the thing, but just for the experience of it, I would highly recommend it. It's kind of like Disneyland. Yeah, here's a shot of the convention hall. It's like a giant convention for Magic players. So they've got artists, they've got all these different vendors. You can get cards signed, you can meet the pros. They have coverage for the main tournaments. They have tons and tons of side tournaments. Yeah. Since this is the 25th anniversary of Magic, they were giving away Magic cupcakes. Excuse me. Still fighting a little bit of a cold I picked up while traveling. Okay, so yeah, just all sorts of events. They have cosplayers, right? A lot of personalities in the community are there, podcasters. This particular one wasn't able to make it for medical emergencies. The best Magic players are there, crushing these tournaments. Matt Nass won the Modern tournament with this very signature deck that he has. But the highlight of the weekend for me, I did not do well. I played in the sealed Grand Prix. I did not do very well. Did not come close to making day two. Um, and then I played in a sealed PTQ the next day where I did well enough to win a box, a little more than a box of product, but wasn't. I was knocked out of top 8 contention pretty early. So going to these tournaments with friends, somebody got married at the Grand Prix. Going to these tournaments with friends means that you kind of get to celebrate in their successes. And I imagine that if you've been going to the tournaments, our youth tournaments with your buddies from school, you kind of get to imagine, have that feeling. If one of them does really well, the rest of the group kind of gets to take ownership of that. So my buddy Tim Rivera here, this was his celebratory dinner. Tim is right there. He won a beta draft. So they had this awesome tournament at the Grand Prix. Beta is the first set of Magic that was released. Like Alpha was the playtest set, Beta was the first set that they actually released. So it was the very first set of Magic. They did a beta draft where if you qualified for this tournament, they did a draft where each player got 3 packs of beta and they got to keep their cards. Winner of that draft won an Alpha starter. And a couple $1,000s. So Tim, almost all the Vegas guys were like grinding in the qualifiers for these tournaments all weekend. You basically had to go 5-0 in a sealed tournament and then win the top 8 to qualify for this. To qualify for the beta draft. A bunch of the Vegas guys, we had a smattering of top 8s among the group, a bunch of close shots. Tim top 8'd 2 of them, won the second one, or I know he top 8'd at least one and won that one. I don't know if he top 8'd a second one. But he qualified, got to draft with some of the best names in Magic. LSV is like the godfather of Magic. Ben Stark here is one of my favorite Magic writers. Martin Juza is a big name pro, and then these other guys that all won these really tough tournaments, they all got to draft Beta, which is the first set of Magic. Now, not only is that cool for nostalgia reasons, but that's super cool for value reasons, right? This card right here is in the Power 9, the 9 most powerful cards in Magic ever printed. They have not really been printed except in those first couple sets of Magic. And, this card here is probably worth like $5,000, right? So Tim, unfortunately, did not open any of the big name cards in the draft, but he did draft a really good deck, right? This is Time Walk, another card in the Power 9. Underground Sea, the dual lands from the first set are, this card is probably worth like upwards of $5,000, at least $3,000. So, there's sick value in the draft. Tim did not open sick value, got to draft a really good deck and just crushed everyone in the tournament. Ended up winning, got that Alpha starter and a sweet cash prize. So that was, Tim is just great at Magic. So getting to hang out with him and his friends all weekend, watch them take down these tournaments was great. Pip here, Philip Martin, I think he top 8'd one of the beta draft qualifiers, didn't win it, and then he won the PTQ the next day, the tournament that I won my box at, he took down. So getting to watch, these friends take down these tournaments, I would of course always prefer winning myself, but getting to share in the successes of others is great. So good times were had in Vegas. Shout out to Dane here, my buddy from Hawaii who moved to Vegas. Dane really got me into playing competitive Magic, but he put me up, so shout out to Dane for making that trip possible. So Vegas happened, and then the next Tuesday, I flew out to SoCal to play in the regional PTQ. So the regional PTQ, there's kind of 3 steps to qualifying for the Pro Tour. First, you have to win a preliminary PTQ, which is local. So I won a preliminary PTQ. This one was back in March or April or something. Won first place at that local tournament, which qualified me for this regional PTQ. Now, this season's regional PTQ, it was a team event, so you got to bring 2 friends with you. I brought my buddies Dan and Brian. We've been kind of really close since high school. I'd say these are my 2 best friends from high school. And, they don't play Magic as much as I do. They definitely follow Magic. We still talk Magic all the time. But they don't really play competitively as much. They used to varying degrees. But so they don't play competitively as much, but I kind of like, I told them if I won this qualifier tournament that they're going to be my teammates. So I won, pulled them out of retirement. We spent a week in Brian's house. Brian moved to Northern California. He lives by Sacramento. Dan lives in DC now, so we don't really get to see each other much, although we talk online a bunch. But Brian put us up in California. We spent the week just grinding standard. The format was Team Unified Standard, so you had to play 3 different standard decks that couldn't overlap in cards at all. So if one player played one copy of any given card, if they played one copy of Shock, then none of the other players could play any Shock. So your decks had to meet that requirement. So, I had been playing a bunch of Magic. We'd all kind of been talking strategy about it for a couple weeks, but neither of them really got a ton of practice in. But then that week we were just all living at Brian's house, put in a ton of practice, figured out what decks we wanted to play, and then played in this regional qualifier. I think there were like 52 teams. It was at this card shop in Berkeley, San Francisco, and California. 51 or 52 teams played. We ended up going 3 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws. We picked up an unintentional draw in round 4. Let's see. We lost round 3. We unintentionally drew in round 4. Won round 5, and then unintentionally drew in round 6, which was the last round. So if we had won round 6, we would have made top 8. We would play through single elimination top 8, and then the top 2 teams would qualify for the Pro Tour. So we were really close to making it to the top 8 cut, ended up drawing unintentionally in that last round. I think we were kind of disadvantaged to win that game that didn't get to finish. But we didn't want to scoop to the other team. They didn't want to scoop to us, so we both just unintentionally drew. Ended up in 16th place. Won some packs, which is great, but for a tournament that you're flying to, it's not that great. But it was. We didn't win, but we had a great time. I'm super proud of Dan and Brian. They are great Magic players, even though they don't play all the time. In a week, they were basically able to learn their decks really well. They actually put up better individual records than I did. I went 2-4 in the tournament. Dan went 5-1, and I think Brian went. He had the exact same record as our team. He went 3-1-2. So he had the 2 unintentional draws, and then he lost 1 round and won 3. So yeah, that was a really good tournament. Just getting to hang out with Dan and Brian again, 2 of my best friends from high school. I don't remember the last time the 3 of us got to hang out so much, so that was great. It was a great week playing Magic. I had really a ton of fun prepping for the tournament. I had a ton of fun playing in the tournament. We didn't get the finish that we wanted, but it was a good time. So to anyone who's made it this far in the video, I think that the big takeaway from this that I want to share with any of my viewers is that the Magic lifestyle, especially for the youth that may be watching this, right? The Magic lifestyle, the game is great, right? It's obviously fun. The fantasy element is great. The strategy element, I never get bored of it. So the game is great, but the real value, I think, in playing Magic and investing this time into striving to improve yourself, the real value in that is kind of in the friends that you make along the way. So, to bring it all full circle back to the youth project here at MTG 808 Junior, I think what we're trying to do in terms of helping to support these school Magic clubs, giving these kids kind of tournaments to go to kind of interact with the broader Magic community outside of their school, right? We want to create that social fabric for everyone to kind of participate in and really enjoy and become a part of the Magic community, right? Because this community is great, right? There's so many great tournaments, so many opportunities that you get to be a part of, so many great friends that you get to make, good times, great friendships. That's really what it's about at the end of the day. So that was my kind of 2 weeks of Magic craziness. The reason that I haven't really been making a ton of content, I've been traveling, but just wanted to catch everyone up with it, kind of share some of my takeaways from the weekend, or from, I guess, the weeks of traveling, and just let everyone know that we're back. We're going to be back to running at least 2 youth tournaments a month, and our goal is to run one youth scholarship tournament in November or December, probably early December, and then another youth scholarship tournament again in May. So, we got to build the Patreon up. We've got some plans to kind of help the Patreon grow a little bit that we'll be announcing in the coming weeks. But that's where we're at, and we're back at it, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks to those of you who made it this far in the video, and hit that like button if you like our content. Hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date on the project, if you want up to date on standard popper content. And thanks for stopping by. I'll catch you later. Peace.